me see. That should work. So I was following along with somebody that was creating this pattern, or creating the pumpkin. So I'm just going to go ahead and make one myself. I think I got my chain already finished. Let me just count here. Yes, all right. So then I'm just going to start. Usually the first row is what takes me the most time setting up this base. So I'll just, excuse me, get that all set. And then what I'm going to be doing is using that base to make the crochet pumpkin. Now another thing is here I am using 2 colors of yarn, so in each stitch I want to make sure that I'm picking up both strands of the yarn. The stitch that I'm using is a half double crochet, and that makes for a little bit more dense stitch, so that when the pumpkin is done and we stuff it, all the stuffing will stay in the pumpkin. We're just starting with a half double crochet on this chain, and I'm going to go ahead and do that all the way down on this first row. Let me move my yarn. So this is the first time I'm working up this design. I have my notes written down on how to proceed, and I actually don't even have a pattern for the stem yet, so we'll see how that comes about. I'll probably have to Google that and see how to make a stem, or I can maybe freehand it, freestyle, figure something out once I finish the pumpkin. Today I'm using Craft Smart yarn. The color is mustard, and I'm also using a recycled plastic yarn. It is a polyester yarn, and it is a Lion brand yarn. And that one is, I believe the color is Alpine. So we're going to have just a little bit of fall colors here. And that one is Respun, 100% recycled polyester for sustainable stitching. So if that's something you're interested in, reduce and reuse. It says there it's made from recycled plastic, and it is a 4-weight, and the color is Alpine. So I thought that would make a nice color combination. We'll see how it turns out. It is a little tricky using the 2 strands. The mustard is bulky enough on its own, but I had started the pumpkin using the Alpine colored yarn, and it's too lightweight. Even though it says it is a 4-weight, it's, to me, the way it stitches up and the way it feels, it's lighter than that. So when I've used it for other projects, I actually used 2 strands. So I'm just pairing it with the mustard. I probably should have sized up on the hook, but I don't want the pumpkin to turn out to be too huge. So we'll see how this goes. So the ratio on this is however many chains you do that many rows plus 12. So for example, this chain is 25 chain, but it will be 24 stitches. So I will use a row count of 36. So that's 24 stitches plus 12, and that comes to 36. So I will use 36 rows for this pumpkin. Now this is a pattern that was dictated by Vanessa. I don't know Vanessa's last name, but she is vs.crochet creations, and I am going to try to remember to put her in my comments and the write-up for the stream. That way I get her credit. Okay, I see a mistake right here. When I crocheted this part, I didn't pick up the green, but we're not going to worry about that right now because it will end up at the top or the bottom of the pumpkin, and it's not going to affect the overall. Just want to be sure that I'm mindful of both strands of yarn going forward in order to include both strands in the stitching. So the way this is going to work, I'm going to crochet this as a panel. When the panel is done, I will sew the ends together and then work to cinch closed the top and the bottom. That will be done individually. So the bottom will be cinched closed and the pumpkin will be stuffed, and then the top will be cinched closed. And of course that's after the side is sewn up. So usually this step is the slowest for me, just because I'm trying to make sure I get that base correct. And I've got one more stitch, and then this pattern is completed using back loop only, and I will show you what that means. And using that method will help create a texture on the pumpkin. So on each stitch you're going to see, let me find something to point with. I have my Afghan hook here, but you know what, I'm going to use this pen. So each stitch has the front and the back. You can see how it's kind of a V. It's a little bit difficult to see with the multi-strands, but let me separate that a little bit. So you can see this is the front, this is the back. So when I'm going across the row, I'm going to pick up the back loop only and do my half double crochet in the back loop only. And let me just count real quick. Okay, so I am going to start right here. Now, I don't have my TV on or anything, so my dogs are alerted whenever there's any kind of sound. Oops, and I just distracted myself. So bear with me if the dogs happen to bark. They're only protecting me, and I will try to correct them, but sometimes that ends up making more noise. One moment. That's enough. That's enough. Get down. No, nobody's there. Get down. Get away. Fine. Fine. All right, I am back. And oh yes, I have my light on. Perfect. Okay, so here we are starting in the back loop only, and then that as we move along in the rows, you'll see how that creates a texture for the face of the pumpkin, the surface of the pumpkin. Now, I did see others that created the pumpkin, and with that texture, I think it looks amazing, and I am not going to create segments on mine. I'm just going to finish the pumpkin, stuff it, sew it shut, cinch the top and the bottom, excuse me, attach the stem, and then call it complete. Now this will be an item that I include at my fall market. I have a fall market coming up October 10th, 2022. Okay, so see, here's a challenge when you have multi-strand. So just be mindful, be patient. Pick up both of your strands and then just move on ahead. Forgot to grab my music. Let me grab my music. That way you're not having to listen to me continue yammering, but you're able to have some nice background music. And perhaps it will be a little bit of a distraction for the dogs. Of course, we're going to hear the commercials. Here we go. A little bit of ambiance there. So I did start making this with just the green yarn, and it just was not coming out the way I like. So I started again, and I'm using the green and the mustard together. That will create a different colored surface for the pumpkin. Something a little different, fall colors, but not your typical orange pumpkin. Now I'm going to turn my work, and then I will continue back loop only, and then that will, let's get this untangled here, and that will continue to make that texture. So back again to back loop only. And we are going to do a total of 36 rows. And once that is complete, the pumpkin, this panel ends will be sewn together, and then there will be a top and bottom, so it'll be kind of like a tube. There will be a top and bottom. The top and bottom will be cinched closed. Cinch the bottom, stuff the pumpkin, cinch the top, or stuff the pumpkin, cinch the top, and then I'm gonna have to figure out what I'm gonna use for a stem. Can probably just create a stem with some brown yarn or even just this green yarn, but I would need to use 2 strands because this green is very, to me it feels very lightweight. It's just not substantial enough. Welcome. Thank you for joining my stream. I appreciate it. Feel free to add some commentary, ask any questions. I am a left-handed crocheter. Of course, you're always welcome to just hang out as well. I like to stream here so that I can export to my YouTube channel. That way I have some sort of content on my YouTube channel, but I'm going to try to get motivated to maybe start editing. We'll see. But I am also on TikTok and I have a website. So if you're interested in seeing any of my products or items I have for sale, you can always check TikTok, my shop, Instagram. I'm all over the place. And once I place this stitch, I'm just going to do a quick count.